everybody, and welcome. It's your sports report yet again. We are back. Last time I came to you was Monday. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Not so much has happened in the sports world. We got some college baseball going on right now, College Baseball World Series, so not too much. I'm not going to get into any of that. All brand new episode of the Fourth One podcast is out now, so go take a listen. If you're new to this, all the words are spelled out, Fourth and One podcast. It's also on this page, so just click on over to the podcast tab. We are previewing the Big Ten, Ohio State, Oregon, and the rest of the Big Ten is the title, so go check that out. Now, let's start in college football, and it's going to be a quick one in and out, and then we're done. Alrighty, so we are starting in college football, where the NCAA, after taking L after L after L, is pretty much just saying, you know what? We don't care anymore. Starting this season, the NCAA will allow commercial sponsor advertisements on football fields for regular season games in all three divisions, the organizers announced. The NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel approved the recommendation from the Football Rule Committee. This rule allowed for corporate advertisement to be placed in three spots on the field. A single advertisement centered on the 50-yard line. I would assume it's either like at the top or the bottom of the field, not where their main logo is. Maybe so. Along with no more than two smaller flanking advertisements elsewhere on the field. It can be done on a game-by-game or for the entire season. The new rule will give schools an additional opportunity for revenue, which they are seeking more of following a landmark House versus NCAA settlement. That was the $2.7 billion settlement that we talked about a couple ones back. It doesn't mean every school will implement it. We're pretty traditional. Athletic director Greg Byron said last week at the SEC spring meetings, one of the cool thing I think is that Alabama doesn't change their jerseys. We're unique in that way. We never say never, but we're obviously fairly conservative when it comes to anything like that. Listen, I'm of the mindset, let's not go too far into pro sports. Okay, I don't need advertisements all over the field. I don't need these players making a gaggle of money, which they are anyway. Let's just keep college ball about the athletics, team development, and winning natties, and not some parade for once, okay? Let's just keep it. No sponsors on the field, but I understand why they're doing it, because everyone wants money. Alrighty, it was game one of the NBA Finals in Boston. The best team in all of basketball during the regular season, that would be the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics could reach 80 wins this season. That would match some 1980 teams that only did that. So they are on a historic pace. They are 37-4 at home this season. Make it 38-4. Okay, because all five starters scored in double figures. Kristaps Porzingis came back from injury off the bench. They are the first team in NBA Finals history to have seven players hit multiple three-pointers. Kristaps Porzingis had 20 off the bench. They were led by Jaylen Brown's 22, however, and they throttled the Dallas Mavericks 107-89. Luka Doncic did have a double-double, 30 points, 12 rebounds. Kyrie Irving did nothing. He shot 6 from 19 over the field, 0 of 5 from three-pointers. Remember, Kyrie was in Boston for a little bit, said he loved it there, wanted to resign, and then immediately requested a trade about a year later when things weren't going well. So it is just game one. Dallas still has a chance to steal game two on the road, which of course is Sunday, which I already talked about. So game two Sunday, so I'll have that result on Monday for y'all. All right, Stanley Cup finals aren't underway yet, but that is tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on ESPN. It is the Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, their star and the star of the NHL, and the Florida Panthers, who kind of take more of a team approach there. So game one tomorrow in Florida, and I'll have that coverage for you Monday as well. All right, finally, we're going to be in and out today and probably under 10 minutes. As I say that, I'll probably babble on and we'll go over 10 minutes. But let's take a look at the MLB standings. It is your weekly MLB standing edition. New York Yankees, hot, hot, hot. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They've won their last 8 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They now have a 4.5-game lead over the Baltimore Orioles, a 12.5-game lead over the Boston Red Sox. a 13-game lead over the Rays, and a 14-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays. In the Central, the Cleveland Guardians, who are 6-4 in their last 10, 4-game lead over the Kansas City Royals, 7.5 over the Minnesota Twins, 9.5 over the Detroit Tigers, 26 games over the Chicago White Sox, who are on a not a historic, but they are on a 14-game losing streak. So when I did this last week, they were still at 15 wins. Awesome. By the way, their run differential this year is 152. Isn't that something? Let's go out west, where it's the Seattle Mariners, 8-2 in their last 10, 5-game lead over the World Series champs, defending World Series champs, the Texas Rangers. 7.5-game lead over the Houston Astros, 11-game lead over both the Oakland Athletics and the Los Angeles Angels. Let's go to the National League, where it is the Philadelphia Phillies, who have a 7.5-game lead over the Atlanta Braves, who have the Phillies then also have a 16.5-game lead over both the Mets and the Nationals, and a 22.5-game lead over the Miami Marlins. By the way, the Philadelphia Phillies are 44-19. They are on a 3-game winning streak, 6-4 in their last 10, and they are the second best team in baseball record-wise, only behind the New York Yankees, who are 45-19. Excuse me. In the Central, the Milwaukee Brewers are on a 3-game losing streak, but still sit 5.5 games ahead of the Cubs, 6.5 games ahead of the Reds and Cardinals, and 7.5 ahead of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Out west, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the high-flying, high-paying Los Angeles Dodgers, sit a comfortable 8 games ahead of the San Diego Padres, 8.5 games over the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants, and 16 games over the Colorado Rockies, who are the third worst team in all of baseball. Now, the wild card is very far off, okay? The wild card, super far off, playoffs super far, long way away. They don't commence until October. But if the season did end today, here's how it would shake out in the wild card. So all the division leaders, who I just said, would be in, followed by these teams. The Baltimore Orioles sit 6.5 games ahead of the Kansas City Royals, who sit 3.5 games ahead of the Minnesota Twins, who sit a game and a half ahead of the Boston Red Sox. So 3 wildcard teams make it in. Boston Red Sox, not that far back. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves sit 6 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs, who sit a half game ahead of the Padres. So those 3 teams who make it in, the Braves, the Cubs, the Padres. The Padres, though, sit a half game ahead of the Diamondbacks, the Giants, the Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals, a game ahead of the Pittsburgh Pirates, 3 games ahead of the Mets, 3 games ahead of the Nationals. So still, the entire field is still in play. But I just like to give that, just so you know, like all of these teams, like the Yankees have a 4-game lead, Guardians have a 4-game lead, Rangers have a 5-game lead, Phillies have a 7.5-game lead. Like all these teams have greater than a 4-game lead, but they're still, why those teams are kind of running away with it, the teams under them are still in it. And that'll do it for this rendition of the 10-Minute Sports Report. Thank you for being here today. Do not forget to like and subscribe, share with your family and friends, because we're family friendly around here. Go listen to an all brand new episode of the 4th and 1 podcast out now, right here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Google, wherever. You know what? Comment question of the day. Have a great weekend. Until next time, everyone. God loves you. God bless you. Wash your hands, you filthy animals, and peace out.